look, I got the calendar notification. Hi. This is Gail, and I'm joined by Brandy Lawson of FieryFX. Say hi.
Hi.
And I'm so excited to share Brandy with you today. She's a part of my ecosystem that I have painstakingly put together, and I'm just always honored to be able to share space with her, and I'm so excited that you have taken the time and said yes to coming on and talking to me.
I'm very excited about our conversation today.
Me too. So, let's start with you telling the lovely people who you are and what you do and what you love about it.
Ooh, so as Gail mentioned, I'm Brandy Lawson. My company is FieryFX. We are a boutique marketing and business consulting agency. And what I really love about what I'm doing is that I get to help my clients, which are typically change-making women, really see the joy in running their business, find that confidence, and give them the tools that'll enable them to really ignite their influence and impact in the way that they want to go change the world. So watching that happen, watching them light up when they can really have that renewed sense of purpose is so awesome. Super fun.
Yay! I love watching you do it. So that I feel like that's I think I have probably one of the best seats in the house.
Aww.
So when I love your origin story of how you got into all of this crazy website and all sorts of bananas. So why don't you give highlights, how
Sure.
you got into the website stuff, and I know you have some family background stuff that was really instrumental in how you've created and set up your own ecosystems and your own business.
Yeah, so my story of unintentional entrepreneurship starts with my journey towards being a business owner started when I got walked out of my corporate job because I never intended to go start a business. But less than a week later, someone I worked with reached out to me, was like, hey, I think you can help me with this website. And I was like, sure. He didn't know I didn't have a day job. And I'm like, well, I'll do this while I look for a job. And thus began my business. And about, 8 months later, I caught on. After I turned down a job with Microsoft, I'm like, oh, I think I'm supposed to do this thing. And it is sort of a comedy of errors. Looking back on it, being in it, I did not think it was as funny.
No, we never do.
No, but my relationship with business and technology really is because my parents opened a restaurant the year I was born. I legitimately grew up on the back shelf of the restaurant. There's a terrifying story about when I learned to start rolling over and was still on said shelf. Fortunately, my mom caught me before my head hit the tile. But so my parents started a business, and they really had no business starting a business. They were farm kids, and my dad had an engineering degree, and he opened a restaurant, which was odd. But he said that he could not work for somebody else. He had to be his own boss. So that's what he did. But then, because he did have an engineering degree, he ended up writing his own computer programs to track sales and do payroll. And my sister and I did data entry. So, but I really could see and understand the power of using technology in that way. So that I think really informed my how I pursued things. And when I was getting my undergraduate in marketing, I took a C++ class because I was like, this is really cool. And I can kind of see how these things will work together. And that's really then led me to the web in my first job, where I got hired as a marketing assistant and very quickly started working on the website, and then had a very, very generous guy who worked in IT, who was responsible for all the web servers, patiently help me learn to code in PHP and write forms and do that type of thing. So it's been, I guess, sort of a little path that, looking back, it makes sense. During the time, it doesn't make a lot of sense about what I'm doing. But now I'm very equipped to help my clients make decisions for their businesses with technology, to give them frameworks, not just here's what everybody else is using, but here's how you think about what you need and how you go out and curate and find things that make sense in your ecosystem and work for you. Because we do not have to write our own programs at this point. We do have all the options. All the options can be overwhelming. So having a framework to then make decisions, I think is one of those rare gifts that because of where I came from and the things that I've done, I can help clients with.
So I've spent a lot of time talking about how I decide on those processes. I think you and I probably have some things that converge and overlap. So at a really, really high level, not giving away the secret sauce, but really high level, how do you guide someone through making those decisions, for especially going back to that 101 status of when we're first starting out, and maybe we can afford to invest in 3 tools, and like, what are those 3 things that way back when, if you'd had access to, one of them for me is Airtable. If I'd had access to something like Airtable and Screenpresso, like, that would have changed my life. So that toolbox curation, how I feel like I asked 4 questions in there, so pick one.
Well, so some of the unobvious and harder things is where to start. And looking back at kind of when I did start, first of all, there's a skill set that nobody ever tells you you're going to need when you become a business owner. And honestly, I think it would have been helpful when I was an employee. But some of these, for me, it was easier when I was like, oh, this is a skill and I can build it. And the more I practice, the better I'm going to get at it. And I'm going to suck at first, and that's going to be okay. So this is a bit like riding a bike. You are not going to get on a bike and go off and do an Ironman or do a ride up a mountain like that, or do the Tour de France like that. That's not how that skill works. Also, not how the skill of business ownership works, contrary to what Instagram and Facebook might make you believe. So just like a little understanding and context of the mindset of building these skill sets. And then thinking back to the beginning, like if I get out my soapbox about the things that you must have, just to be considered that you're like a real business, you have to have a domain name and you have to have an email address at that domain name. And even though $6 a month might seem like a lot, get Google Apps or get Microsoft Office 365 and set yourself up with that proper email address in the beginning. Because I will just say 8 years in, I started with, because I could hack around the systems, I did have a real business address, but I didn't buy Google Apps till later. And then I've been living in 2 houses. And at this point, it's really painful to have to move out of a house that you've been living in. So just get the right house and live in the house from the beginning, because at the end of the day, if you can't afford to put $100 into your business a year, then you need to maybe reconsider your path. So this investment, I think it's one of the most important things is buy that domain name, which could be less than $20 a year, and get your branded email. Now, you do not have to have a website to start. You pick the platform where your customers are at and go build out your page there. If it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's LinkedIn, if it's a platform to be named, even if it's there's some local connections. I'm trying to think Alignable or something. There's a couple, whatever it is, wherever your people are, go build out your profile and redirect your domain name there for now. So I think to start a business, those are the things you absolutely must have. From there, the skill that you can begin to build is when you are thinking about, I wish I could do this better, or, I think I need this thing. Figure out what you actually want from it. And while that seems simple, I can guarantee you it is not easy. And also, please see for previous conversation about bicycles. It's just, I think that one of the scariest questions you can ask people is, what do you want? Because typically I find for myself, that is buried under a pile full of should. And I have to start shoveling the should before I can get to what it is I think I actually want.
Yes.
So even as simple as what do you want from the system that would do X? I invite everyone to start there. Even, like, don't Google anything, don't ask anybody, because whatever you can imagine, it may not exist, but it might, or there may be some version of it, or you might find. But if you can just get that list of what you want, gives you a way better place to make a decision from than to go out and be informed by the market about and just go with whoever's selling the hardest or the best. So start with what you want. That is a skill that will serve you highly in your business, not just with technology, but in many other places. So start with what you want. And it can be a scary place to start because it's like a blank page. And you're like, well, I don't know what I want. Well, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Like, really, what is the problem you're trying to solve? I can't get my client work done on time. Super. What would help you get your client work done on time? And then reverse engineer from that. I mean, we can kind of see that this is going to a project management system, which is like the next thing I think is on the list of things to check off.
Yes.
But all the shiny stuff in the world is not going to be a replacement for you being clear about what you need and how you're going to use it. So I'm happy to give away the secret sauce. The secret sauce is be very, very clear about what you want from it. Be very clear about what it needs to work with. Then go ask your network what they're using to solve these problems. Again, do not ask for Airtable. Go ask for how are you solving these problems, and then make a decision. When you're making a decision, don't pick something you're not going to use. I could hand you the neatest, shiniest widget in the world. In fact, like, I am very sad for many clients who just won't use Gmail. But I can't make them do something that they're not comfortable in.
Right.
I can help prime their mindset, and I can help them build the flexibility or the idea of what they could get when they get there. But if they're like, no, I need Outlook or I need Macmail, I can't exist without it. Cool. Okay, then that's the world you live in. If that's what you're going to use, then use it. So don't choose something you're not going to use.
And have you had instances where you've made a suggestion and someone has started using it and they're like, oh, no, I can't. And then like that reevaluation process of, all right, if this didn't work, then maybe like we need to go look over here. I find that happens to me a lot where like someone has, or outside of me, they have taken, they've asked their friends have said X, they've tried X, they now hate X, and they're looking for like the YZABC, like where's the rest of my alphabet? And like, I know there's a question in here somewhere, but has that happened to you where you have people use these other platforms and then they come to you and like, okay, Brandy, I just don't understand. Why isn't this working for me?
So I have had, so one thing is I try not to recommend at this point. I try to make people go make that decision on their own. And I will give them, again, I will force them to evaluate what it is they want and figure out what things it needs to work with. And then I may give them a handful of suggestions to go try. But a lot of times where this has come up is sort of the Asana versus Trello. So if you're looking at a project management system, I think like two bookends of how people's brains work are Trello and Asana. I have some people who like love Trello, and I tried it and I'm like, no, I don't get it. It's not working. Like, I understand how it works, but this is just not working for me. It's not how my brain works. I can't keep track of anything, where all the things go. And then I found Asana and I was like, yes, this works how my brain works. And other people are like, I don't understand it. I won't. So the beauty is that there are options. Sometimes you just don't know till you try, which is like why a lot of software things have trials. However, we all do a disservice to ourselves, assuming that we're just going to jump in and adopt it and move forward. So, and not building in the, okay, this is what I want out of a trial. These are the things I need to try. Get very clear again about what you want out of the system and what's it supposed to do, and what's it supposed to work with. But yes, I have had people who were told this is the thing, and they're like, nope, can't. Also, technology changes all of the time. And so God bless those people who were early adopters of email marketing who were using Constant Contact.
Yes.
it was the thing. And at the time it served the purpose. And now if you come to me with constant contact, I'm like, I don't care how much you like it. It can't do the things we're going to need it to do. But times change. So
Yeah.
just because this was the thing, it doesn't mean that you're going to get to use it forever, or if it will serve your needs forever, because the thing changes and your needs change. So don't fall in love too hard. Because at the end of the day, it's a business decision, and your critical evaluation is it still serving the thing you said you wanted from it?
Okay, so let's shift into systems, because we like talking about systems. So for people just starting out, and they're probably not at a point where they can hire a bunch of people or like again buy a bunch of things. What do you think are a couple of must-have systems that have really made a difference for you?
So for me, besides having the email that's branded, having the place to get your to-do list out of your email. Whatever that place looks like for you. Some people, it's like remember the milk, like just a to-do list. Some people it was OneNote. Some people it was Evernote. Asana was really when I was like, yes, this can actually get it out of my email. But if you're keeping your to-do list in your email, I do not care if you think it's working, it's not working. And you are also not set up to have other people help you at the point that you could have other people help you. And you will need other people to help you. This is also something it took me a very long time in my business to come to. I was like, I was just going to do it myself because I could do it myself. I was going to be better than most people at doing it myself, so I was just going to do it myself. And let me tell you, it does not work. It does not work for you to get to where you want to go if you try to do it all yourself. So putting your to-do list someplace where ultimately somebody else could help you with it is a great thing to start. Again, moving houses after you've accumulated a lot of stuff is harder than just starting at the right type of house or the right kind of modular house. So where to keep your to-do list. It may ultimately be a project management system, but like, do not keep it in your email for the love of God. And then a way to manage your contacts, because in the early part of business, it's really about finding people to serve and figuring out how you want to serve them. A lot of it's just figuring out. There is no like in 12 months, you're going to know all the things and have all the systems. I've known like a handful of people who've been able to do it that way. But as human beings, we have sort of a capped capacity for change and growth. And unless you have really built those skills and come in with this rapid change mindset and this rapid growth mindset, just the fact that you're human, I'm sorry, is going to keep your business growth a little slow in the beginning.
Yeah. Darn, like I really thought it was going to just go, whoo.
Right? There's no reason that actually there's reason, and it exists between my ears.
So let's see. We talked about systems. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Getting the to-do list out of your email. And I have a really big I made a really big push for file naming conventions. Like it's so simple. Like, and people forget. Like, but when you download that thing or you save that thing and it's saved with numbers, and then you go to try to find the thing. So, do you want to talk about digital file organization?
Sure.
You may not get as excited about that as I do, but
Well, I think for me, again, this is one of those pieces that I had, like, I came from corporate where we had a lot of network drives, and so I had some sense of how to organize things, but the idea of the naming conventions, I think I didn't get really clear on until I was working with a large local company. I was helping them with their automation, and we were doing tags. And he had a tag naming system that was basically multi-part, and I was just like, what? You can make multi-part tags in an email marketing? Holy, because then you can go opt-in, and then you can go where it came from and what I will like. So like event, and then the name of the event, and then the thing that I gave them, and that could be a tag. And oh my god! So think that a little bit of that planning, a little bit of that organization. So back out to the files, I early on was creating things I wanted to give away, and then I was also getting things that would help me. And if I called them both downloads, that was very confusing. I'm like, wait, is this for them or is it for me? So a distinction I made early on was that like things that I was giving to other people were my downloads or freebies or that time, and things that I was getting for my business were resources. And then I have my resources broken up into folders. I also try to just name things so I can find them, or organize them so I can find them, and rely on search more.
Yeah.
So I do have a resources folder, and if I'm in a program or I'm getting multiple resources from one place, that will have a subfolder, but otherwise they just go in there. I also try to be fairly disciplined about not keeping stuff on my computer. Everything goes into Google Drive, into a place. So at this point, I've got like a clients folder. My top structure is like I have a clients folder and I have a company folder. I think that's it. And then underneath the clients folder, each client has a subfolder. And then there's an archive. And Gail, I think you were asking me about Z archive.
Yes.
I put it so it goes at the bottom of the list. And then any client that's no longer an active client goes into the Z archive. And then that doesn't get synced down to my computer. So I'm saving space on my computer, but I still have everything in the cloud. And then under the company, like that's where I put all of the company related items. And then I think, end up making a VA folder for any of the non-client resources that I needed to share with VAs or people on my team. It ultimately ended up, or things that we were working on together. But I try to keep it simple, rather, because my brain can't take a whole lot of things to wrap itself around. So simple, I find simple is better. And because search is so much better than it ever was, I can rely more on search. But to that end, then calendar stuff, at this point, I'm involved with other organizations. So if things from other organizations are coming onto my calendar, I ask them to always be consistently named so that I can quickly find them. So if it's like NABO, I always have NABO in it so I can quickly find them. Or if I'm working with another organization that I'm doing coaching for, like I have that consistently named so that I can quickly find it. So again, using search with naming.
I like it. I get really excited about that stuff. that corporate thing, and then just having to manage massive amounts of information. You have to have a system. And what I've been reminding people is that just because you're starting here doesn't mean you're always going to stay here. And if we plan for what's going, always planning for what's going to happen later and having that infrastructure now, then we'll have that ecosystem and support when we get to
it's the version of dress for the job you want, right? Yes. So system for the job for the company you will have.
Yes. And actually, Lori, if you're watching, that you said that to me over and over and over again, in 2015 and like all through 2016, and I have applied that to like everything I have done is planning for the thing we want, not for the thing we're doing right now.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's when we're looking at tools and things that are coming down the pike, because there's been things that I have passed up on, which at the time I probably made the right choice, but there have definitely been moments where I'm kicking myself because, I didn't get in on the bottom part, and I could see the things that I could see that I thought I would need, I didn't opt in for, and then things that I thought I might need but couldn't see where I could use it, and then realized later, oh, darn, I needed that. But that's okay. That's where that shiny object thing comes in.
And back to combat the shiny object syndrome, one, don't get on AppSumo's list, but two, get really clear about what it is you actually need, like where your pain points actually are and what you actually want from a system. And sometimes things will come along and you'll be like, oh, But if it doesn't actually address something on your needs and wants, then it's probably not for you at that point.
Right. I like that. It's a good way of looking at it. You always have a good way of looking at it.
Product manager. I'm like, you have to have a way of deciding.
Well, and the way of deciding, but like, it's fun. So I use one set of words to help people make those decisions, and I love hearing your sets of words too, because then it's like, oh yeah, because sometimes people don't identify with how I say it. They need to, hear how someone else says it, which is why we listen to one person but not the other person, even though they said exactly the same thing, which is okay. So what do you think is I'm actually very curious to know this. What was the first role? What was the first thing you outsourced?
The first thing I outsourced,
or major thing?
I'm trying to think. Thinking all the way back. I think it was in the beginning some additional WordPress work. I think that was the first thing that I was outsourcing, because there's a lot of tactical things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I needed to outsource that. Yeah, because I think, the first VA I hired, was I called them a WordPress. I didn't use Power User. I used some other thing. But yeah, somebody who knew their way around WordPress, who could do some tactical tasks there. I think that was the first thing. And it was really on the fulfillment side of my business. Yeah, trying to get that fulfilled. And then shortly thereafter, I got the bookkeeping outsourced, because can't even make me. It's terrible. Yeah, I think that was really the first thing. And then I was working on outsourcing project management, because it's something I can do, but something I really, really, really do not enjoy.
Yeah.
I really, really, really will go to the bottom of my list. So I needed somebody to bird dog my clients and me.
Cool. Okay. I was really curious about the first thing you outsourced, because I get that question a lot of, what should I get rid of? And I'm always like, get rid of the things that don't bring you joy. Like, if it doesn't make you happy to do them, and you can find someone else to do them well and they'll support you, then for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, a good evaluation, because again, that pile of should, we sometimes will be like, well, I should do this and I should do. No, if you don't like project management, do not like. I can do it. People will say, well, you're very organized. You go, yeah, but I don't want to. There are other things. And then the other piece of looking at that is, where is your highest value in your business? What are the things that you can do in your business that are adding the highest value for you and your clients, that would be hard to keep those things, keep it brings me joy and I love doing it and it's high value in my business, and get rid. Sometimes people, in fact, I was talking to one of my clients a couple years ago who was running a company and needed to be thinking about the future of the company and the high level clients and his workforce. And he was doing the bookkeeping because it was safe and he liked it. I'm like, that's cool. But it is the lowest value thing you can do in your business. And when you dedicate time to doing that, you are costing yourself money.
Right.
So hire that stuff out. And as soon as he found the bookkeeper and like that, it was so much time that he got back. And then he could turn that into so much more value for himself and his clients and his company. So yes, get rid of the stuff you don't like to do, but be careful with the stuff that you like to do if it's not high value.
Yes.
Because it's safe and comfortable. And
it's safe and comfortable.
And it means you don't have to go tackle the uncomfortable high value stuff on your list.
Yeah. And I like to, what was I going to say? It doesn't mean that we need to go cold turkey on outsourcing the thing. So you can, delegate with intent and like be intentional with how you're outsourcing. And, from the work I do, I know it's really important that you really understand the task that you're delegating, because if you don't understand what you're talking about in regards to the task. And it doesn't matter what the task is. If you cannot explain it to someone in enough detail that they need to do it, they either are not the right person or you didn't explain it well enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was at a conference recently where they were talking about hiring, and then they talk about giving the candidate the peanut butter jelly test.
Yes.
And again, something so simple, but even if I don't need that person to be able to finitely describe how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, the approach on clarifying where we're starting.
Yes.
Just say, okay, do you know what peanut butter is? Okay, do you know what jelly is? Figuring out the context that we're working within so that you can then meet them where they are, I think is one of the most important things about the right team.
Yes.
Is the fit. If they can do the tactics, that's great. And again, we ran into this a lot with developers. Developers can be just brilliant. But if they can't work in the team and we can't get the outcome that we're after, even though they're a brilliant developer, then they're not the right fit.
Right. And so when you're talking about the right fit and finding those things, do you have resources that you would suggest to people go check out if they're thinking about finding the right fit or deciding if they're sidebar, I have inside information on what Brandy uses, so I'm prompting her without saying the things.
I'm like, you may have to say the things, but carry
on. What was I thinking? I was thinking about EOS.
Oh, the entrepreneurial operating system and the book Traction. Yes. So there's a couple things that I discovered about hiring. One is that, again, it's a skill I think you're building, because even though I did it inside of companies, when it came time to hire, the first thing that was totally counterintuitive that really helped me hire better was to get my values written down. My company values. Before I had my company values written down, I didn't have a way to really articulate what it was like or what I'm trying to build or the environment of working with me. And I think it's unfair to yourself and to people you're trying to hire to not be able to articulate that for them. Because then it's no, we have to try it out. And then sometimes we don't know. And especially if it's remote, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So the book Traction with the entrepreneurial operating system is, for me, it was a handy framework to begin to wrap my hand around that. Getting my values written down, again, that's not the first intuitive step to hiring, but
no, but it's part of knowing what you want. Like,
it's part of knowing what you want.
Back to that.
Yeah. And you may have to shovel off a lot of should to get to there. Because I started picking things up and it's like, is this mine? How did this get here? Do I actually want this? Do I own this? Oh, I don't know. So yeah, it takes some of that examination and that willingness to be vulnerable and authentic with your own self, which again is not counted. Entrepreneurship is a personal development program no one asked for. Like early in my business, I finally was like, oh, my business can't grow unless I grow. This was not in the brochure. Like I've taken entrepreneurship classes and no one talked about this. I am the ultimate bottleneck to everything in my business. Oh,
and no one can fix it. Like there's no easy button.
You cannot buy your way out of this. No. It's like, oh, no wonder. But so to that end of curate and building your team can be whatever you decide it's going to be. So a lot of people start with VA because it seems less scary. Yeah. Cool. But there's lots of freelancers and contractors out there who have lots of different skill sets. So just looking for VAs may not always be what you need, but you can think about how a freelancer, I mean, there's things like, I don't remember, Fiverr and like those types of other project-based, task-based stuff out there so you can go try. But to build a long-term relationship, you may just look for a freelancer. The best places to look for those is in communities you're already in, and you're best equipped to look for those when you know what you want and you can clearly articulate expectations about the work. And that's a skill too. You got to try it a little. You got to refine. You got to be willing to give yourself candid feedback. You will make mistakes. The old adage of hire slow and fire fast is the best, and it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because at the point that you have to sever a relationship with somebody, it's a shared responsibility because they didn't always just fail you. You probably failed them in some way. And that is also hard to cope with. So some of us avoiders avoid it. But it's really not serving you, and it's really not serving them, and it's really not serving your clients,
right,
if it's not the right fit. So, and sometimes, like in my business, I don't have any full-time employees besides myself, and I don't want any, not just because of the overhead and yada yada, but some of the skill sets that I need, I wouldn't be able to have in a full-time employee. About the time they're working only on my client stuff, they're losing some of their value.
Right.
So I have strategic partners that I work with. I've curated this ecosystem of partners, of people, of other service providers, and figured out how I want to work with them and how they want to work with me. And we help clients in that way. So I feel very capable of serving my clients' needs, not just because I've built an in-house team.
Right.
And sometimes people get really sketchy about, well, what if I don't have a lot of employees? My client, like, how will my clients feel confident that we can service their needs if I don't have employees? Like, well, the world it is a change in, and actually that might be better because then you do have capabilities you wouldn't have otherwise if you had to hire full-time employees, and you do have flexibility, and you don't have to have your clients commit to this level of retainer in order to serve them because you have built a flexible business model. So it's really about figuring out who your clients are, the business you want to build, and ultimately, again, just what you want. You've got to shovel off the should.
Shovel off the should, and then it all falls into place, and it all makes sense.
Well, you reveal it, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you come back again, you're like, how'd there get more should on here? Why is there? I just shoveled off the stuff.
Right? Oh man, where does it come from? It's like every time I feel like I've like cleared off some of it, it's like someone standing on the top of the hole, like pushing more in, and it's like, I'm down here, I'm shoveling, I'm trying. I took that metaphor way too far, probably.
Oh no, like it totally happens. It every time I was like, huh, okay, all right, I'm clear. And then I get to another point and I go back to like, oh, this is the next level. I got to figure out what I want from this. And I go back, I'm like, again, whose is this? Is this mine? I do not remember putting this here.
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have like run the gambit over all the things. I feel like I wanted to hit, because I feel like you've been in each stage, you know, as the you know, toddlerhood of starting a business, and then like those angsty teenage years, and I'm not really sure where you think you are in the realm of things, but I feel like you're you've either already had your midlife crisis, or like maybe you're like in that lead up point. Yes. I don't know. maybe I'm not sure. But what is there anything else you would like to geek out about, or nerd out about, or share something that I've been sharing some of my ecosystems, and I know you have some really cool ecosystems that you've created for yourself. So as far as, you know, support other people that you go to learn from, that sort of thing.
Yes. Well, an interesting framework, and I really wish I could remember who to credit this to, that I learned through one of my communities, which is You Gurus, You Academy, which is a bunch of agency owners, was that we are typically in the best place to operate as a human being when we have people ahead of us. So kind of that mentor or coach or group ahead of us that's kind of like, yeah, it's like I solved some of these problems. Here's some research. That's cool. When we have peers people who are at the same level as us, who are kind of solving the same problems, and we can commiserate together and also share resources and lessons. And then people behind us that we are mentoring, because when we help teach, when we mentor, when we look back and pull somebody else up, it is the best solidifier of those skills and lessons. It really, for me, keeps those honed, and me remembering that the summit is never reachable. Like in business, it's this I can credit. Fabian Fredrickson always said, new level, new devil.
Right.
Like, all the problems that you've solved, great. About the time that you're at the next thing, you're like, huh, yeah, this must be what? How is this? But the business is problem solving. So if we were out of problems to solve, we would be out of business. Yeah. So just having and continuously looking at who I have in front of me, who I have beside me, and who I have that I'm helping behind me, because it changes.
Yeah.
And my needs for those things change. Like in the beginning, having some group coaching was more affordable. It did reveal to me that I needed more accountability for making sure that I maximize the value of those programs. And then, the right set of peers, because that also changes. I found a biz BFF pretty early on, which has been transformative, but also like having other groups of peers. And then who I'm helping behind me. Again, my ability to do that ebbs and flows. So it's not one and done. Like you just don't like, okay, I found the coach for the rest of my life. Yeah, no. And it might be a coach at one point. It might be a group program. At another point, it might be a different kind of mentor. Your needs will change. And so just building that skill of articulating what you need is probably the best skill you could build in your business, which is, again, no business school ever has taught this.
No. And I feel like I've taken a lot of let's soapbox. Do you want to soapbox for 5 seconds?
No, sure. Yeah, soapbox.
How do you think that differs from the knowing your why statement?
Knowing your why.
Or so does it differ?
I think knowing your why is the intrinsic motivation and sort of what you as a human are after, but being able to articulate what you want situationally,
right,
and what you need, especially that, again, separating want from need.
Yes.
And articulating it, because then ultimately you're going to need to ask for it. I really struggled with asking for it. And I think part of the struggle was I didn't know what it was that I actually wanted or needed. And I think it's disconnected from my why. Like my why is like the joy in my clients and being able to use this unique skill set that I somehow came to further other people's impact on the world. Like that's my why. But what I want and what I need in any specific day, place, out of a client relationship, out of a partner relationship, out of an employee relationship, when I was less skillful about that, it was frustrating. It was really frustrating because I'm like, well, why isn't this working? Well, because you don't know what you want. And so then I had to try a bunch of things to figure out what I wanted. And while that ultimately does work, not everybody has the runway for that kind of trial and error in their business. Yeah. So that's skill, because sometimes coming to masterminds, they're like, well, bring your biggest issue. I'm like, so then we get all angsty about this and then we'll hide or not show up. But again, when I can position it in my head as, oh, this is a skill. I'm not good at it yet. But if I keep trying, if I keep applying myself, I'm going to skin some knees and I'm going to fall down, but I'm going to build my resilience and I'm going to build my ability to have this skill. And when this skill is better, it's going to serve me in a big way. Because then when I can get on my bike and ride to the grocery store, or when I can get on, like there's the incrementals between, tricycles and Tour de France that is beneficial. I mean, it's never my goal to be at the Tour de France. That's cool. but this skill is really going to serve me in other ways. And I think that coming at some of the harder things in business with that idea was like gave me some room for error. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be good at this the first time I try it. Okay, cool.
Have you, let's see, this is probably the last question. Something that's been happening to me recently, and it has happened to me over the years. It just took me a little while to articulate what was actually happening. And that there are times when we outgrow our circles, or we outgrow parts of our ecosystem. And when you figured out that that maybe the person that was mentoring you, now you're at the peer part, and some of your peers have they're so do you want to talk about that for a second? Have you I know you've experienced this, so
yes. Again, our brains like to solve problems once. And so we like to think that when we found the right thing, it's the right thing forever. Bad news. It's probably not the right thing forever. So, being willing to have those vulnerable conversations, to being willing to know what you want and know what you need, and know when that's no longer being met or when it's something different. And just understanding same thing is going to happen on the other side. Like when people I've mentored have come along and like, yes, they like, please go off in the world and be free. You no longer need my mentorship. You need something different.
right.
Also, I hired my first business coach, and he was great for a lot of things. And then I quickly outgrew kind of what he could give me. And then I needed to get to the next thing. So just nothing is forever. As humans, we like to have long-term relationships, but clients will outgrow you, or you'll outgrow clients. Same thing with people on your team. But being in a position to have authentic conversations about that, and when you do know what you want and need, it becomes easier to say like, hey, I really enjoyed this, and thank you very much for this. I'm now going to go do this thing. Like here's how we transition what we're doing together.
Right.
You'll again need that because employees, because clients. Yes. And there's sort of a season for everything. And an article that I read, I guess it's probably been like a year ago, was about the half-life of information.
Yes.
Is that there's nothing that's true forever. Not even medical digests. Like go read some of the practices back in the 1920s and you'll be like,
right.
Somebody posted like a picture of the cough syrup label from the 1920s.
Yes.
With basically no wonder they could walk uphill both ways in the snow, because it had like cocaine and Lada and like all these kind of things in it. The things that we know to be true at the moment are always going to be true. Like information has a half-life, and that is the same in your business. You're going to learn things, you're going to grow, things around you are going to change, situations are going to change. So being able to take that head on and make the changes, and just, you can still love people and want to have them around and not interface them with them in the same capacity because things have changed. It's okay.
Yeah.
They'll change too.
Yay. Thank you. This is really fun.
Pleasure.
Right? So do you have any last things you want to share? Parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. I think understanding the concept of the support in business, something I wish I would have done sooner. So finding the people ahead of me, people with me, and people behind me. If I would have done that earlier, I probably would have made some of that progress that I thought I wanted to make that I wasn't ready for.
Right.
So yeah, just building that community and asking for help. People want to help. There's no shame. The worst I can tell you is no.
Right.
But asking for help, because none of us do this on our own, and no one can. I don't care what Instagram and Twitter and Facebook say. No, Gary Vaynerchuk did not make it on his own.
No, he didn't. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And if you are catching this on the replay, thanks for watching us on the replay. And Lori is going to be popping on at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is in about 10 minutes with her guest. And I hope you will stick around for that. So,
Thank you.
bye.